Hey folks, I'm back. I went through and basically got I think most of the filler work done. We'll find out after I put the primer on it. But I had some bare metal areas, and I had this matrix self-etching primer, which is what I use. I don't particularly care for the epoxy too much, but this is the primer itself, and here's the activator for it. I got this from Andrea and Darren. Good stuff. I mixed it just like the directions said yesterday, and went around all the areas that had a little bit of bare metal showing, and put a good light coat, and then went back with a second light coat. It tells you that you don't necessarily have to have coverage as far as color goes, just as long as you get a good covering for all the bare metal spots, which is what I did. I tried not to get it too much on the filler and stuff, or on the rest of the paint, because it really is not meant for that. I'm going to be using some 2K primer here in just a minute, high build. But I went around to all the areas I did any metal work that had any bare metal showing, like here at the bottom of this. I mean, you can see that's just almost like a ghost coat, which is really all it takes. That stuff, I mean, it goes on, it lays down super flat. Not sure if you can tell, but I mean, it lays down really well. But I got all my bare metal spots covered up, and now I'm getting ready to mix up some 2K primer. A friend of mine came by. I was getting ready to email Andrea and order some, but he had this left over from a project he did a while back. If it goes south on me, I'll have him to blame, but it's this brand, 2K high build urethane. I actually had to get on their website to get the tech sheets for it, because my friend didn't have the information that came with it. He'd had this sitting in a box for, I don't know, the last 3 or 4 months. So we're going to give it a shot. It's a 4-to-1 reduction urethane primer. I went ahead and took the lid off of it, used my paint stirrer since this thing had been sitting for a while, made sure I got all the sediment, or I'm sorry, not sediment, all the good stuff in the bottom of the container mixed up really well. It doesn't look too bad. Another thing I like to do too, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but around the rim, particularly when I open up a new container of anything, I like to take a nail, a real small nail, and right inside of that lip that the lid sets in, punch 4 or 5 holes on the side of the can that I'm going to pour out of. That does 2 things. First off, after you've poured it, it lets any paint that remains in that lip to drain back in, and you can take a small artist brush or something like this and kind of go around the inside that lip and push up most of the paint back in there, and then that way when you go to get the lid off the next time, it's not glued on there. Then I also like to take some masking tape and tape around the top of the can to kind of make like a pour spout, so that way it doesn't dribble all down the front of the can. And then once you're done pouring it, what's on the inside of this will run back down in that channel, and you can take your paintbrush and push it back down in there, and that way you don't use as much product, and it makes the lid easier to get off the next time. So I've got my good old cobalt here. It's only got a, I think it's like a 1.8 tip in it. That's what I sprayed the etching primer with yesterday. The P sheets for this material say that you can reduce it up to 10% with reducer. Had to go to Lowe's today to get this. The paint store's closed. But I did a test with it after I stirred it up a little bit with a stick and put a little bit in there, made sure it didn't roll up. It does mix with it quite well. So what I'm going to do is mix this 4-to-1 and then put 10% of the reducer in it. So I figure what I'll do is I'll use the metric scale, and I'll put 400 milliliters of the product, 100 milliliters of the activator, which will make 500, and then 10% of that will be 50 milliliters of the reducer. So I'm going to mix all that up and then do a test spray pattern over here on my sorry, tripped over something. on my test panel here to make sure I got my gun set right. Pressure, pattern, fluid, the whole 9 yards. I got 2 sides set up here to do my test. So once I get the material mixed up and in the gun, I'll bring you guys back and we'll see how it goes. Okay, I'm back. It took a little bit of adjusting to get my gun adjusted out, but this was the final pattern with the gun about, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches from the panel, and it's about a 6 or 8 inch tall pattern, relatively even. I started out, it was like this, where I'd sprayed that acid etch yesterday, and I just kept adjusting the fluid and the airflow and stuff out until I finally got it to spray out a pretty good pattern like that. This is the first 550 milliliters. It actually covered pretty good. Took my time, made sure I had a good 50 to 75% overlap. As of right now, I'm not seeing any striping or anything. A couple of places I got a little bit dry, but of course this has got to get scuffed anyway. But going down the side of it here, covered pretty good. But with the first batch, I got the front of the bed, the top, inside of edge of both of the bed sides, the passenger side, bed side, all the way around. Of course, it's kind of hard to tell, especially from where you guys are. It looks just like one big gray box. And I sprayed a little bit inside of where the tail lights and stuff go to cover up the red that was in there. Same thing in here underneath. I sprayed some back toward there because I'm going to have to fog some white paint back in there when I get ready to paint it. But inside where the tailgate goes, across here, up this side, across the top of the bed rail here, looks pretty darn good. We're going to be doing the rolling bed liner, probably take it up to this line right here, so the top of it didn't have to be perfect. But if y'all remember, I had all those holes and stuff I had to weld up on top of this thing where they had some sort of camper top or something bolted to it, but it turned out pretty good. Here's the quarter panel patch I put in. Can't really tell where the seam was at now. Of course, I got a little bit of trash in it and stuff that blowed up off the floor, but I got everything pretty well covered. And I got the top half of the bed side over here done, and started coming down through here, and that's as far as I got and it ran out. So I had to mix up another batch. But this stuff seems to be laying down pretty good. I've used a lot worse stuff in the years past. Stuff that looked like you put it on with a spatula. Of course, back then that was siphon feed guns, and they were always a pain in the butt to deal with. This one's got some dry shot in it. I may have had my gun back a little bit too far, but again, it gets sanded. But luckily it went on pretty even. I didn't have any striping or anything that I can think of. But I'm getting ready to finish up this side, and then whatever's left, I'm going to put a second coat on it just to get some material so that I can block it out again. From what I'm seeing so far, the bodywork looks pretty straight, but I'll know a little bit more about it once I start blocking it with some guide coat on it. So I'll bring you guys back and we got something else to show you. Okay, we got 2 coats on it. I actually didn't get all the way back around it the second time before I ran out again. You can see right there a little bit of reflection where I stopped. But this stuff actually laid down pretty good. We'll find out when I start sanding how well it was. But so far it's relatively smooth. Yeah. A few little places here or there. It's got some dust and stuff in it, but overall, not too shabby. I don't know how much he gave for this stuff back when he bought it. I'm not too adverse to using it. It looks like it turned out okay. Of course, time will tell when I'm sanding it. Of course, I found a few little places here Of course, some of that may block out, some of it may have to get a little bit of icing on it or something. So, but anyway, that's got a good coat of high build on the whole thing now, so I'm going to let it set for about a week, maybe 10 days before I start blocking it out and make sure this stuff, when it shrinks out, let it shrink before I go to sanding on it. I've also got a mail call. My apologies, Marshall. I had received this quite a while back now, and in all the chaos of the stuff piled up here in the garage, I had lost it. But when I was moving stuff around today to get ready to spray all this primer and stuff, I found it. But if any of you guys haven't been over to the Radiator Works channel, you need to go by there and check them out. They fix a little bit of everything. But I appreciate the sticker, Marshall. It's very cool. Thank you. Then here's one that I'm sure all of you are very familiar with. Dog Buggy 32, Giant Blue Ant Garage. Awesome sticker, man. I really like this. He wrote me a note here saying that now that he's seen that I had a Mustang over here hiding amongst all the debris, that he's going to be on me till I get it done. So, yeah, we'll motivate each other, man, and try and get this stuff squared away. You know how it goes. But thank you very much for that sticker. I really do appreciate it. That's awesome. Anybody else that would like to do a sticker swap, or even if anybody wants a sticker from my channel, just PM me in the DM section, or just put a comment or something in the comment section below, or give me your address somehow. I'll be happy to send you guys one. Kind of show you, I got this mess almost cleaned up here now. Like I said, this stuff ain't too bad. It was free, so what else can I say? You know, it doesn't get much better than that. Otherwise, I would have been using the Matrix products, which I really do like a lot. This acid etch etching primer really went on there good. And if I was down to bare metal on anything, I would definitely use that. Of course, that gets back into the whole epoxy versus etch debate, and I'm not even going to get into that. But my personal preference, I'd rather put the etch on there and make sure it's soaked into the metal, and then build up from there. I generally just let all my mixing cups, let the primer dry, or whatever paint is I'm in there drying. And since it's glass, once it's dry, you can actually take and get started on the edge and peel all that out of there, as opposed to wasting, you know, who knows the amount of thinner to clean them out. I like the mixing cups pretty well, but there's a lot of waste involved with those. You use them once or twice and then you have to throw them away because you really can't clean them. So I figured out that this seems to be a little bit more economical green solution for me. I like using this, and then that way I don't have to use any thinner. I just peel this out and then reuse them, so I don't have to buy mixing cups either. When I was running the gun, I actually had to crank the pressure up pretty good to get that stuff out. I was running about 40 PSI with the trigger depressed, so I'm not sure what that equates to at the air cap. And of course I had my fan almost all the way maxed out and had the fluid nozzle maxed all the way out, and that gave me a pretty good pattern. And then when I was spraying it, I should have took some video, but it was so foggy in here, but I kept the gun approximately 6 inches or so away from it, and you can see this stuff laid down pretty doggone good. I'm actually quite happy with that. So appreciate all the comments and stuff on the last several videos. I'll try to get back to wow, remember which way I turn the camera? I'm crooked. I guess my head's crooked. I'll get back to commenting and on all the comments and stuff. Well, duty calls, phone's ringing, so I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.